have you talked with your kids about drugs yet? If not, our next guest is here with some helpful guidance. We welcome back parenting expert Yishai Busi. Hi, Yishai.
Hi, Helen.
What have you seen when it comes to drug abuse, first of all, with teenagers? What have you seen?
Well, it's getting more and more prevalent and pervasive. It's an issue that it's been something therapists who work with adolescents have been addressing for quite a long time. But now with marijuana being legalized, you've got pot shops on almost, it seems like, every corner. And you've got e-cigarettes and electronic devices. It's getting a lot more, it's coming up more and more as an issue at younger and younger ages.
Okay, so how do you start the conversation? And one of the things you say to do is find out why they're doing it.
Yeah, so the number one thing we got to start with is to not be judgmental. Kids are on the defensive very quickly. They're expecting and used to adults jumping in and giving them long lectures and a tone that really talks down to them. So the number one thing we want to do is listen. Try to understand why they're doing it. Teenagers use drugs or alcohol, smoking weed specifically, for various reasons. It's not always the same. It's not just peer pressure. Sometimes they do it to fit in, but sometimes they do it because they genuinely enjoy it. Sometimes they do it to manage anxiety and distress. Sometimes they're just curious. So there are a lot of different reasons why they do it. So we want to ask questions and try to understand.
I have a question for you, which is vaping cigarette smoke or is that marijuana smoke?
So vaping can be either.
Oh, okay.
It can involve nicotine or THC. So it's a liquid that gets heated, and so then it vaporizes, and then they inhale the vapor.
Right.
And so sometimes they use THC or nicotine, and sometimes neither. Sometimes it's just they do it because they enjoy it.
Okay, so one of the things you say is to get educated on the facts.
Yeah, so as a parent, it's important to kind of know what we're talking about, and so we're not just making kind of an emotional decision. And a lot of kids know this, but we have to remind them some of the things. For example, today's weed is 5 to 10 times more potent than the ones that our parents use, what my dad would call grass.
Yeah.
That kids who use marijuana weekly by age 14 are 500% more at risk of full-blown addiction compared to people who don't start till they're 18. The hallmark of adolescence is a developing prefrontal cortex. The development of these neural pathways is critical to being a functional adult. And THC disrupts the development of those neural pathways. So it does affect memory, planning, judgment, and reasoning in a more significant way during adolescence than it does for adults. So we need to remind adolescents this. This is really important.
And I'm sure they're going to say everyone's doing it.
They are going to say everyone's doing it a lot of times. And everyone isn't doing it. About 40% of adolescents smoke weed, which is a lot.
Yeah.
And I should say high school students. But that means like 60% are not. Right? And so we have to remind them, actually, the majority don't smoke weed, but it'll feel like, and they'll say that everyone's doing it because in their peer group, in their circle, everyone might be. But that's not, most kids still actually don't smoke weed. How
can parents improve the situation so their kids don't try any of these? So would it be about you have to have more stronger family connections? So as a parent, we can be very alarmed and concerned, as we should, but we're not going to control or punish our way through this. Right. Micromanage our way through it. The number one protection, one way to help mitigate the risk and get them to make some better decisions is through family connection. We have to stay connected, even if we're very disappointed and concerned about their behavior. We have to make sure they feel loved and important and have quality family time with our kids. This winter break that we're going into is a great opportunity to really take advantage. Make sure they feel a part of the family, feel loved, feel connected, have a close relationship with your kid. That's the best way to help them with this. And the last important note you have is that you need to be clear and realistic with your goals with them.
Yeah, so these two components are important. Number one, be clear about your values, that you don't condone this, you're not okay with it, you don't want them doing it. It's really important. Lax parents about this have kids who are more likely to have problems over time. So be clear about that. Then also be realistic. Acknowledge you get how pervasive, how it's everywhere. Any parent, whether who your kid is, ask them if they know somebody. If they wanted to get weed, could they get it? And they'll tell you, yeah, they could probably get it this afternoon. Yeah. They know where to go. It's everywhere. So be realistic. If your teen, prioritize honesty, value. If they say, yeah, I want to do it, it's what I do. It's hard to hear. It's going to hurt to hear, but that's an important starting point. You want your kid to be honest. From that place, you can be realistic and say, okay, it sounds like if you're going to do it, you're going to do it. Okay, let's talk about honesty. Let's talk about safety. Let's talk about harm reduction, really. And then that could be the difference between them having moderate use and developing a full-blown addiction where it becomes a problem.
Yeah, that's so very important. Yishai, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Helen.